thank you everyone for coming. This is very busy. I didn't expect so many people, so thank you in advance. And let me introduce myself. I'm Alvaro, Navarro. I'm a designer from Spain. And I'm super happy to be here at OFFF presenting for Maxon. And yeah, today I'm going to talk about like so many things that maybe you're interested in, like lighting and design. So let me show you before I start something. My name again, and let me show you something interesting. Basically, that's all created Cinema 4D. That's the tool that I use since like so many years now. I look back in my career and I'm really happy to use this tool and I'm joining Houdini because for me it's an impossible mission. So yeah, I'm looking at Lucas. So yeah, it's a really nice tool that I've used for so long, and today I'm going to show you how I use Cinema 4D. And what you already saw is something that it shows like 3-5 years of my latest years that I consider the most productive years. And today I'm going to show how I work, how I think, and I want to show you how I produce some of this visual. So for you, something really quickly, something easy. But before, as I said, I want to show you what I do, how I think, and how I work. I'm a designer, a director, and photographer from Spain, as I said before. And in a way, I consider myself a digital designer that uses Cinema 4D as a camera, right? If you have studied photography and design, you know the foundation of design is based on composition and lighting, and trying to find a nice balance between all the elements within the scene and trying to catch the attention of the people. And I think the light plays an important role for that. This is some of the work that I produced over the past few years. Some of the work very, I would say, very recognizable. Some brands, remarkable, Volvo, Ford. Really interesting projects that shape the way I see my work. This is some work that I work for Balenciaga and Nike, some personal exploration as well. Yeah, Maxon, Machine, Future Lives, Technical. You name it, there's so many clients, so many studios that you have to, back in the day I was like thinking like, I want to work with these people, so I focused myself into like, how can I make these people like me, and how can I work for them? So, basically, it's something that I push myself to the point that I'm currently working at Meta as a visualization artist, basically rendering the same stuff like product. What made me get to this point is like non-stop pushing myself. You would say, that sounds cliche. It is, but that's how you get things done. What I do, design and basically research and development. That's something that back in the day, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, Maxon Machine, they were doing like, oh, this R&D, what's that? Basically what every company, what every achievement has been through until you get it, right? So research and development is the core of what I do. Why? Because it's like where all the ideas start with a fresh, with that fresh idea, you read a brief, you read that, and you put all the energy into the new project. So there's a new ways, and I want to highlight that for me the draft isn't just part of the process. That's where I focus on this research and development. It is the work. So these are some of the examples that, to get to the final delivery for a client, you have to go through a lot of rounds of R&D, trial and error, and this is something for Remarkable, Ford, Remarkable again. This is a photo that I took of a watch that I bought. But there's a thin line between like design and photography these days, right? So it's like, you see something and it's like, is that real? I don't want to talk about AI, but that's another topic. But how can you make things appealing to the viewer, for a client to buy your ideas, to pay you a day rate, to pay you like thousands of euros or dollars or pounds for a campaign that is going to be forgotten within a month, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months? Some of the words for remarkable, remarkable again, Volvo, remarkable, Ford, Bose, Ford, Moncler, Ford again, Maxon, Ford again, Ford again. I love the show. I like this one. These are my favorite ones. I don't know what this is. It's an engine from a car. That looks like it's fallen to me. Crickets. I guess you don't like it. Tonal, getting shaped for it. Ford, Renault, Moncler. And then comes photography. That's something I've been leaning on for the past 3-4 years. I started photography back in the day on film. But I was thinking about how can I make this, how can I bring it, how can both photography and design feed each other to find the right balance to the way I like to create things, right? It's not like, when I'm not designing, I'm just like with the camera, taking pictures of everything I see. And I'm going to mention Annie Leibovitz, maybe you can like it, maybe not. I love her. But yeah, photography has taught me how to pay deep attention to the details of things. And that deep attention, it's being extended to all the parts of my life, making my life so interesting. Because now I'm this weird guy, goes to a bar, whiskey on the rocks, and you see the fucking eyes that you have. This reflection is crazy. How the light is going through the glass and the eyes is just like bonkers to me. So I pay that much attention to things. I'm that weird guy. Yes, most of you maybe are the same. But yeah, that passion for photography and design has taught me how to understand the scale of things. You know, sometimes you work with people, some people are starting and you see the noise, the level of the noise and the size, and you're like, that's not right. But you have to go through that. You have to teach people, you have to show people how things are. So photography has taught me that thing. Like I look at the parquet, at the floor, or the walls, and you see the noise, you see everything. You pay attention to all the details that you have to bring into 3D. So that's really important to me to create things. Like some of the photography that I've been taking this year, like Japan, Chinatown, New York, landing, paradise. And the way I approach design and mood boards, I like to approach that for photography as well. Like you can create like super nice mood boards and you start seeing your work that put it together. Once you start like creating like a presentation like this, you're like, looks good, like looks nice. So I encourage you, if you have that passion, to do the same thing. Natural light is something that I love. Just one light, one source of light, how light bounces. And this is like Japan. I've fell in love with Japan this year. My hometown in the mountains, South Spain. More forests from different places. More trips. And then, this is something again. How can I blend how I approach design and art direction for product design? That's mainly what I do. With photography. This macro lens, one natural light, the sun, something dramatic. Some people told me I'm too dramatic with lighting. I'm sorry. Motion blur. I took this picture with a bunch of friends in London. With a bus. A Porsche. Speeding up in Tokyo. New York, some pictures. You see, the lighting is key. I think it's just like, when you see the contrast and how you see things, it's so important. This is a photo as well. And I love this. I met this guy in New York in Soho, and I was like, you look so good. And he was all tapped, his arms and the neck. And he was skating all around. I was like, can I take some pictures of you? Like, you approach the guy and you're like, hey. And I was like, yeah, he was completely crazy. He doesn't even know that he's here. And I cannot remember his name. So we both added on Instagram, and he was like, yeah, he had a good time, he fell, and yeah, super nice guy. But, you know, the way I treat this is like, once you go to a place and, okay, I bring my camera, okay, I take a picture of the views, amazing, but you want to go further. So I don't settle with one picture. I want to take a picture of many things, and then create the story. So here, I'm telling you the story. So this is not like, oh, I met a guy in New York, I took a picture of his skateboard skills, and that's it. No, this is the story of the guy. He fell, he had a good time, and then when he finished, he opened the can, one shot, done. Another micro shot with photography, different cameras. I use many cameras, like Fuji. This with the Fuji film. Again, colors, composition. Watch out, security. Micro shot as well. And also you think, how this is Stefan here, is the matter of like flowers, ready shot. Yeah, some more New York, some, you know, I saw a video once of Stanley Kubrick, how he treated symmetry, and I was like, amazed by that video. I can mention that to you right after the talk. Yeah, more skate, I love skateboard. And yeah, design and art direction, how you blend these things. It's not like, I'm not a director, I'm a designer, what I am. One-man band, everything. So basically, design is about blending these things. And I think that blending those things create more meaningful outputs, for sure. So combining this visual exploration and diverse references, I think, I'm reading this literally, the process becomes a dynamic mix where ideas evolve and intersect, leading to a more innovative and refined result. I agree. Thank you, ChatGPT, for that. And this is where I put everything together. So I started like looking at my work, and I was like, man, there's some similarities in between how you approach design and how you approach photography. And the way that we touch photos is like, yeah, you see some things. This is a project for Volvo on the left, crumbling on the right. And you have to guess which one is the picture and which one is the render. But this is my hometown back, and at the bottom is my hometown. And I started to see things like they look very similar, like very similar. Like this, one social lines. This one's well. That's in Uluwatu, in Indonesia. And I started like preparing the presentation. I was like, how can I merge, how can I blend these things? And it came out nicely. You know, composition skills, framing. I think that's reinforced that, yeah, I think it works. This one as well, the Shinkansen, the train. Also like having this white background with the black silhouette, plastic. Again, details. Again, remarkable. That's my dad, right? He's a painter. It's been such an inspiration. Also, this one. I think you can tell the similarities in the work you made. So vinyl is back, so I think like that motion blur comes along nicely, and then Porsches, cars. We've been through this era of rendering cars, electric cars. I don't like them, but I don't think we're going to stick to the plan with that. But yeah, food as well. The Maxon and some sushi. In a way, I think, how can I design these things based on what I see, right? It's like, so you go through the streets and you're like always like that weird guy again, like looking at things like this. For example, this works quite nice. That's a beach that I work on the right for L'Oreal. That would be the particles inside the Asia. That's a picture I took with cheap camera. So the way you present things, I think it matters, and the way you blend things when I was presenting this, preparing this presentation, I was like, yeah, this works. Again, perspective, like with a friend on the right. I asked many friends to go for photo shoots, and that's the Volvo frame that made it for the client. And this, again, the lighting is the most important thing, I think, to me. That's why research and development and design come together as a process. But it's a never-ending process until the client say, stop, please stop. So through this blend, the draft becomes a space where ideas are tested, refined, and visually shaped using light, composition, and references. So that's why I call this presentation, the draft is the work. Why is that? Because you're always trying everything to get to a final point where the client changes everything. And you're like, okay, thank you, yeah. Let's start with another draft. And then you start again. So we are basically spending more time in the draft phase. That's a never-ending story. So that's how it works, right? Lights, contrast, texture, detail, microviews, different camera angles, different focal lengths, motion blur, repetition. I explore new ways, always, like new ideas to shape this all the ways, visualize the product or service. That's why I can justify that for this. Not my most proud frames, but I can say repetition, many outputs, microviews, texture, the right size of the texture with the keys. These frames again. One source of light. You can always put some fill lights. But yeah, I think light always defines the mood of the frame. It's super important. For example, this one is key. I love this one. And the one on the right, I prefer the one on the right, but the one that the client got delivered was like completely wrong. You can agree with this. Because the same size of the noise on the right is not the same size as the one on the left. This seems like it's something easy to understand. But then you use that Maxon noise, beautiful, no. And then you start blending things, playing with the contrast, with the brightness. Because they sent us the product, so you have to pay attention, you pay close attention to the product, and then you try to replicate that. So, depends on how you're going to see things, at the distance you're going to see things, you're going to have to be mindful of that. Of course, like this one as well. Micro views, so that's the way I approach things. But that comes from the way I think. So how can I get to these outputs if I don't know how I think? Of course I know how I think. But maybe reflect a lot. So reference everything. So by building a strong visual culture, you have to train your eyes beyond what already exists. So maybe you have the ability to replicate things like crazy stuff. Call it new. Think like a photographer, of course. You don't have to be, well, you don't have to have a title. You grab a camera and you take pictures of things, but if you don't pay close attention to real life, you're going to bring that into 3D. So I always bring that knowledge to get to understand how I can replicate those things in 3D. Similar. I call this a different name, like travel more. See the world, something more emotional about it. It's right. You have to travel, you have to see the sun, you have to see the water, you have to see the mountains, you have to see the clouds, you have to be on a plane and see the sky, you have to see many things to have a reference on how light reacts and how the world is a beautiful place. And that goes through carrying your camera everywhere. How is that annoying kid every trip with a disposable camera? Since I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, how is that camera? So sorry, friends, but... And obviously, the tool doesn't define the work. Obviously, you can use Cinema 4D, you can use Houdini, you can use Blender, you can use Maya, you can use anything you want. Great design doesn't come from vision. It comes from vision, sorry. It's not from the software. But obviously, the tools that motivate you are quite important. If you use a good camera, yeah, you like houdini, go for it. You get like cinema for it, yes. But I think it's super important to have something that makes you go out and shoot, for example, with a camera, or sit down on your free time at home, like cinema 4D, and that's how I'm here, why my practice with cinema 4D has been for more than 15 years. Why? Because it's a simple tool. It's something easy, it's like using something effortless. And probably, I don't know, more than 20-30% of the software. I don't use like crazy setups, I just need a camera, light, the product, and a few materials with a simple noise. Because the intention comes from the light and the mood that you create with that intention. So to me, it serves as my digital sketchbook, right? I don't know how to draw, despite my dad is a painter, shame on me. But I use him as my main tool that I jump into, and I start like drawing things, splines, or set design, whatever. And it allows me to think like self-portrait. I can use the same focal lens, same camera, the same knowledge. I can apply that to it. And this is maybe I'm going too fast. I don't know. That's it. Fine. Okay. So this is the name of the workshop. It's Cinema 4D as my main as my digital sketchbook. Why? Because I jump straight into Cinema 4D. I don't sketch that much. Some people I know, they do that quite a lot, and because they're good. Because I see any of my doodles, and I'm like, no, let me do some lighting. So today, I don't know if you have an expertise or not into Cinema 4D, but I'm going to talk about like workspaces, palettes, some shortcuts that I use, and some tools. Obviously, like camera lights, LUTs, and render, they save my day. So I use Cinema 4D in a way that I don't rely into like using Photoshop that much. So if I jump into Cinema 4D, I don't want to go crazy on retouch or like changing things. I'm just like, if I put an output from Cinema 4D, I want to be the final draft for myself. And yeah, I was gonna say, let's jump into Cinema 4D if you're okay with this. So here we are. I'm gonna pre-record the case I'm going to play after this. But yeah, I'm going to basically name you if you want to write some notes or you want to have an idea of how I work. Basically use the, I always work with normal Mac, the other one. And I always use these customized palettes, right? So there's a plenty space here for you to remove all the new things that you don't use. My case. And then if you double click on everything, you can start removing all the items that you don't use. Because I tend to keep things simple. I like to have my transfer tool, my attributes tool, something quiet that visually I can be blindfolded and I can point my mouse in where those tools are. Because it's been so many years of doing the same thing, right? So basically, I'm going to name a few. And I'm going to put an example of how I use those tools, right? So the first one is the reset the coordinates by find. So it's what's the name? Transform. No, I'm going to say transform. Let's go with transform. Yeah. Was that? I think so. Yeah. PSR. Wait. Give me a second. Transform. It's like reset.
Reset transform.
Reset transform, yeah, thank you. Basically, I grab it here, you can create your own, so, if you double click, you remove it. So I went crazy when I discovered this a long time ago. So you can create your own, like, fill space, you can create your space in here, or your item separator, create your own layout, right? Also, transform tool, if I can find the right one. This one, we'll find out. Transform, obviously, this one is the most, it's going to save your ass. Save incremental. You're working on a different scene and then you press Ctrl save and you're fuck. I need to undo 47 steps. New view panel. this is my personal how it works. Okay, you can do whatever you want. But what else? Jump to this one. I love this one. Well, anyway, these are quite nice. So basically, the transfer tool is quite basic, but start creating a queue. Careful. HR, please. Okay, so it's quite slow, but yeah, I don't need that much. Okay, so basically, you move an object, you scale it up. The scale doesn't work, you don't set that to scale here. To the lost here. To the object here. But basically, you can rotate this object and then click, bam. Applause. Yeah, basically, imagine you like placing the camera, different parts of the scene. Doesn't work, boom, I start from scratch. Why? So I wouldn't be like, okay, let's say coordinate 0, 0, 0, and then set everything to 0 manually. No. Same for, let's say, oh, I got this object placed in here. And I got a new one. Sphere. Custom. And I want to place this object at the same rotation, the same stuff. Same everything. And then you click in here, say transfer, and then boom. But that was not the tool. Let me find the right one. You laugh about that. I'd like to see you here. Okay. Button. I don't know, I'm just placing it. Touch it. So wait. Well, help. Transform tools, reset transform. What's that? Transfer. Yeah, transfer. Thank you. Transfer. That's why you bring the re-record. So basically, you select that tool and then you place on the other one, boom, and then you can hide the cube. Man, applause again. Okay, so it's depending on your pipeline. If you work for one studio, another studio, they're going to have something. They're going to be, no, do it this way, do it that way. Yeah, but say incremental, say like as many times. I'm going to talk on top of this video, just like 10 minutes, and obviously I'm going to render a camera. This is a beautiful German camera, and then I speed it up a little bit. What I want to show you is like, I grab the product, let's say you're working for a studio, you're working as a freelancer, and then you get an assignment like, hey, we need to deliver something cool. And then, you know, the CAD files, they are not very well designed for cinematography sometimes. And they come as a unique piece, as a one piece. You need to split everything, reset the axis, because, you know, when you move, I'm this guy that when you are moving around the scene, I select one object, I like to have the axis right in the middle of the object. So basically, I'm just putting all the icons, as I mentioned before, the transfer tool, the reset axis, the save incremental, those are my go-to. So this is my layout. Basically, it's I have two screens, but this one is for this special occasion. But I don't have like these crazy setups with cinematography. I know you can go crazy with many tools, but I use the basics. I think it's less is more in this case. Yeah, that's another great tool, the axis center, so you can start like, placing the axis where you want to in the object. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the scene to vertical. And I'm going to use this polygon to object. So it's a tool that allows you to, all the geometry from one object, to break it into pieces. So the program, the software calculates how many pieces are in that. Yeah, I click on the axis, I set the axis to the center, so you can see like I'm moving everything from the center. So I group all of those, and then I create a new node, and then that's the new center axis for the object. And now I'm just replacing all materials. You select the material, select double click, second click, and then you say, okay, one shader for the camera. So it's just replacing in a simple way all the materials within the scene. Easy setup, one material. Let's start with one area light, one camera, and you see right now using the reset axis, the camera always creates where the view of the perspective camera by default is created. So I'm just placing the camera right now. Using a 300mm, it's similar to an isometric view, but it's a good start. And then you place this display, the camera, to frame things nicely. And then you have this grid that allows you to have this balance in the image, so you can have the borders really balanced. And now I'm just setting a little the spread of the light, the intensity. And you would say, Alvaro, this is like very basic. Yeah, it's basic, but it works. Maybe not now. But then you start like placing the light around, so you become the light, so you can always select the light as an object. That's something I really use, very useful. And then you're inside the light. So I like to have the camera view and the light view, so you move around as it was a camera, but it's a light. So you start placing the light very precisely until you get something interesting. I think that's a bit more interesting. Always, the lights are like something, to me, it's like must. You can start like photoshopping that image within Cinema 4D, and then you start creating something based on the references or just for fun. You start playing around, and I just added the light. And yeah, let's create another material. In this case, I'm going to add that little noise. That's what I mentioned before. Like, you can add this little bumpy texture if you place close attention. The scale of the noise depends on how far you can get from the object. 0.05, and then a very, very low value for the texture, for the bump. And now it's time to play around. So once you have something interesting, you can start by many, many, many iterations, and then you can start like seeing things. Just one light, plain background, white in this case. The model looks nice from a website, fake website. It's nice. So now look, I think that one looks good, but never settle it. That's it. It's like obviously some depth of field helps, but it's just like playing around. I think it has to do a lot with your references, with your visual culture, how you want to approach this thing. But it is just an example of how can you create something really simple within minutes. I'm creating right now another material for the top of the camera. You know, this classic look of the silver and black camera. Rendering quite fast. I would like to render those basically this fast. Sped up, so really. Just trying different things. As I said before, the silver material for this, using the same nodes, and then selecting that. You know, now that looks like a camera. And now there's something interesting. I love that because when you select an object, you know you're going to be centered within that object. So it's easy to frame things. It's easy to see something real quick because you don't go crazy with that selecting this axis. And I think I'm creating a glass material for the rangefinder. I can pretend I do this moment. Too quick. Yeah, look, that works. One light. You can increase the bounces, but I think just the idea is to have something quick, something I said before, like something fast for you, and then you can start pushing again. I mean, I didn't run all these frames, but I could start like shooting all of them, then create a little more as I did before, 4 or 5 images, and then boom, you have something. At least you can present that to a client, like, hey, I've been working on this, or for yourself, like, hey, Instagram, give me more likes. So that helps a lot as well. Like, that's how I made it this far. Like, pushing myself, working on myself, working on my portfolio. That's the most important thing. And the most difficult thing I would say is like finding something that works for you and having your own style. I mean, sometimes some people tell me, like, I know that image was you. And I'm like, thank you. I really appreciate that you recognize my work. But there's 1,000 people doing the same thing. But it helps, and I really appreciate that. So, yeah, basically, you can say, thumbs up, like this, interesting? No? Applause? No, I'm finished. Thank you. Yeah. It's something, say, one light. I'm just like, oh, yeah, there's two lights, but one is switch off, but it's just one light. You don't need like crazy setups, you don't need that much. Decent in camera. You got it. And obviously, please organize your files. Right? Organize your files. Create a normal camera and 20 cameras. Then, okay. But I feel like this is another tip. Like, if you create frames and frames and frames, create one scene per frame. I think it's more useful. At least to me. But organize your files, please. So that's part of the workshop, like how I approach things, and I want to give you some tips. And this is like redundant, but I've seen, and I've worked with so many people, and I've seen like the same mistakes. And I encourage you to do the same things, like use less lines. You have more control. There's sometimes that I have like 15 lines within a scene. And then I'm like, this is not working. I switch them off, create one new line, hide all those lines, and then it works with one line again. So it's like kind of like magical, but it happens. So sometimes you feel stuck, and it happens. So I hear you if you've been through the same thing, because I've been through that many times. And obviously, think like a photographer. Bring your camera everywhere. As I said before, bring your camera and think about which focal length. Sometimes I feel like when you see all these copies that people copy your work on, I'm not talking about myself, but you can see people like getting copied by many other people. And then you see the copy and it's like, come on, at least match the camera. Get the same camera angle. Get the same everything. But that's super important. Like, use a 28 for landscape, use a 50 for a portrait, use 50 for a product. Go crazy with a 500 mil. But do it. Everything. Lights, define everything within the frame. I told you this before, but don't settle with a first approach. There's some people that they're working like, hey, look at this. It's like, have you even liked that? So it sounds like a bit too much, but it's true. Sometimes it's like, hey, have you working on this? What do you think? Looks great. Keep working that idea. Use more references. Why you cannot picture more things if you don't have those references in your mind? Basically, that's key. If you have a strong visual culture, you have a cinematic background, you start film, you are like, oh, I love this movie, I love this show, and Christopher Nolan directed DiCaprio, and I was like, oh my God, I love that lighting. That's the kind of thing that makes you better, because you're bringing that knowledge into like your work. And as a recap, I wouldn't be the person I am and the designer I am right now without all this background, all these experiences, all this photography, everything I studied. Because I didn't settle with just one thing. I didn't always like chasing what's next, what's more. I didn't want more. I didn't always want to more. And I still want more. I'm in the top of my career right now, and I still want more. So that's shaped my perspective, and I share that with you today. I'm like very thankful for the opportunities that I've had throughout my career, and I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to make a round of questions, if you have any. And I created this without AI, the QR code. If you want to follow me on social or my website, you want to have a closer look to my work. And obviously, I would like you to say hi after the talk, if you have any other questions. Yeah, I would like to ask me anything. Any questions? No questions? I have 4 cameras right now. I have Sony, compact film, and Leica. But I use Fujifilm. But as I said before, I think it doesn't depend on the camera itself. Obviously, with a great tool, with a good lens, basically, if you want to have a nice camera, pay for it. It's worth it. You pay for Leica glass, it's worth it. You pay for this company, size is another great lens, great camera. But I think it depends more on the focal length. If you want to do like something, it depends on your references. I always go to Pinterest. Like everyone else, right? Who doesn't use Pinterest? Okay, no. You don't use Pinterest? Okay. There's another one called Cosmos. Have you used Cosmos? Cosmos is quite nice. It's more like less interested with all the advertising. But it's nice. But yeah, I think it depends more on the focal length. Obviously with a great camera.